Welcome to Spine Chillers and Serial Killers. Emma's got the haunting shadows in the night. Becky digs the crime scenes, tales of bloody fright. Tash just sits there wide-eyed, did that really occur? Laughing through the chaos of the creepy and absurd. Spine chillers and serial killers, where the ghosts meet the crime scene thrillers. Spooky, funny, strange, but true. They've got a nightmare just for you. Don't look behind you. Did you hear?
Hello and welcome back to Spine Chillers and Serial Killers. I'm Emma.
I'm Tash.
And I'm Becky. Hiya. My voice went funny.
Hello.
Hi, Becky.
Are you okay? I mean, Tash is not okay, obviously.
I'm really sick, so you're going to get sexy, husky, smoke 60 a day Tash today. But in fact, I smoke nothing a day.
0 a day.
0 a day.
Ben is also very sick and his voice has gone very deep. And I can't lie.
Oh, has it?
I do enjoy it. I do
bet
like
you
his
do.
sick voice.
He's like, oh, I'm really ill. And you're like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Oh, God. It's when, like, you're sick and you say that to someone and they're like, oh, I've got something that will make you better. And you're like, I don't want it.
Every single time, if I say I've got a sore throat, I've got a good cure for that.
Yeah, like, bore off.
Just give me a cup of tea. Leave me
I
alone.
want honey and lemon. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I have a Beecham's, please? Thank you.
Not cheese and sausage.
Oh. Cheese and sausage.
Noelle needs to wash if you're getting cheese.
Oh,
Where's
imagine.
the cheese from?
Oh, I just wanted to gross you out and I grossed myself out.
Oh, dear. Anyway, that thing I sent you earlier, that video, I'm not happy about that.
No,
Well-
Becky had a bigger reaction than me. I was like, right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe. Did you watch it, Becky, at lunch?
No, I didn't because I literally had barely any lunch.
Oh.
But at least I'm honest about it. But I was watching on French telly, basically this, I assume would be almost the same thing what I was watching yesterday on the French telly.
What was it?
It's talking about all these scientists that are going missing.
Yes. So, yeah, the video I saw was basically some guy. This is in America, by the way, so this is for you, our American listeners. The video was saying that some guy knows that they have aliens and that they are breeding aliens with humans to make alien hybrids. So it all sounded a bit like get your tinfoil hat out kind of thing, yeah? He's saying this on a news interview. And then the interviewer gets another guy who is a congressman. I can't remember what his name was, which is very helpful. And he basically says, well, I'm not allowed to discuss it. And he basically he didn't deny any of it. And he said, if everybody knew the things I'd seen, you wouldn't sleep at night.
Oh.
And I was like, great. That's great. And yes, he did then mention how weird is it that 10 scientists have gone missing. It's more than that, apparently, but if you go back far enough, it's more than 10. And he was saying basically if in America, like 10 hairdressers suddenly just vanished or turned up dead, or 10 blacksmiths or 10 bakers,
Blacksmiths?
people would be like,
What year are you living in?
They still have blacksmiths, Becky.
Do they? But do they?
Yeah, how do you think they make, like, iron gates and stuff like that?
I thought they'd be welders.
Well, I think being a blacksmith is like a craft, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah,
I
there's
if
definitely
I
still
if I
are
made
blacksmiths.
gates, I'd definitely want to tell everyone that I was a blacksmith and not just not a welder. Okay, carry on.
If there are any blacksmiths out there, get in touch.
Please don't be offended. I'm sorry. I'm obviously not very educated.
But anyway, that's beside the point. If in America 10 of these people all went missing, somebody would be going, hang on, there's probably a link here. Something suspicious is going on. And yet all these scientists with clearance to, is it the UAP? Or what is it, UPA?
YMCA?
It's the new word for UFO.
Oh, yeah, they've changed it, haven't they?
Yeah, unidentified aerial phenomena or something like that, UAP. And they're all connected to that, and they're all just going missing. I think it's weird. And I don't like the idea that people are breeding with aliens, because...
Well, unless they're sexy. I don't understand.
Well, I just want to know, are they like shagging, or is it like IVF?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know. I want the details.
Either way, I don't think it's a good idea imprisoning aliens, because they're going to be a bit pissed about it, right?
Yeah.
I love that you're more concerned about the aliens, but aren't you more worried the fact that humans are being made to breed with them?
I'm worried about the fact that we might be pissing off aliens.
They might like it. Might be their kink.
I mean, if they're in on it, okay, then I'll feel bad for the humans that are being forced into it.
There'll be people out there that are volunteering for that shit.
It's the consent. The consent is key. If everyone's happy and it's a big, orgy, interterrestrial orgy.
Yeah, that's not the vibe I got from that video. I got more...
Yeah, exactly. It's not the vibe I'm getting either. It sounds a little bit rappy.
It sounds a bit like more scientific experiment, you know.
Gone awry.
I would like to think it's fake, but I know that this world is filled with such terrible evil that we can't even imagine that it, it wouldn't fucking surprise me if they'd captured aliens and were forcing them to breed.
Yeah, but you meet an alien, at what point would they right, I want to shag it now? I don't understand. What point they're oh, well, now we're going to breed.
Well,
yeah, we're going to make hybrids.
Girls, you can't help who you fall for.
I don't think love's got anything to do with it.
I watched the Bee movie earlier and a bee falls in love with a woman,
The Bee movie is
crazy.
weird as hell.
It's so weird, isn't it?
It has a load of incest jokes
in
it. It is weird.
Yeah, it's well weird.
So yeah, anyway, America, there you go. Can you...
Can it get any crazier?
Could you please confirm or deny that... please tell me it's fake. Because I'm there, I'm like, is it AI? So I'm there kind of looking at every single detail, trying to figure out if it's an AI video.
AI is so good, though, sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, but it didn't look like AI.
AI is everywhere, though, now.
The congressman that spoke out has done multiple interviews about it. So anyway, there we go.
Yeah. If tomorrow, if you wake up and there's a very official-looking American man standing at your door going, you didn't see anything, there's no aliens, then you have your answer then.
Well, it won't be tomorrow. It'll be next week when this goes out or whenever I get it out.
Oh, it'd be even worse if it is tomorrow. Before this even goes out.
Watching.
Just you have to tell him that you believe him. Oh yeah, absolutely, there's no such thing as aliens. I believe you completely. Bye-bye, please don't murder me. If not, you'll be up in the breeders section. I'll have to come and get you.
Oh shit. Anyway, watch this space. Is it soon going to be revealed that aliens live amongst us? I don't like it.
I really hope not, because that scares me. One of the things that makes me very, very uncomfortable is aliens.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a fan. And the thing is, if they have come to Earth, then they have amazing technology, far beyond what we can comprehend. And then if we've gone and imprisoned them and forced them to breed, then we've pissed off an alien race that's massively has massively advanced technology, which probably isn't a good idea.
No, it's not really. It's not a good idea in any sense.
I just don't like phrases like, if you knew what I knew, you would never sleep at night again. I don't like that.
Oh no, I don't sleep as
Yeah, that's not nice, is it?
It's not nice. Anyway, talking about stuff that keeps you up at night, Becky.
My story will keep you up at night. It's not
God.
a nice one, even though I say that every year. I was about to say every day, every time, baby. This story you guys will definitely know it's a lot more well known. But I wanted to do it for a while, but it always makes me super sad. I'll start reading and you guys will understand as I'm going. Are you ready?
Born ready.
So when a crime happens, it always seems to hit harder when it's in a small town or village because, well, you know, you're just not expecting it. Even though I feel that every single story that I start with, it was a small town in North Carolina.
Yeah.
You know, this time it's based in the UK as this story. So it's in the quiet corners of the English countryside, we often live out our little village existences in the assumption of safety, the belief that our children can play, that we can walk to a friend's house and return home before the sun sets without anything bad happening. We build our communities on trust, assuming that the neighbours, that the people working in our schools, and that the people that we pass on the street share the same values. But sometimes that doesn't work out that way, and trust can be weaponized. So today, we're looking back on one event that created a shift in the behaviour of parents throughout Britain. It was the summer of 2002 in the quiet Cambridgeshire town of Soham.
God, you're English and even you can't say
I
those
know,
names.
what's wrong with me? Worcestershire. It's a story that became one of the most intense and heart-wrenching and widely reported criminal investigations in the history of the United Kingdom. It's the story of two 10-year-olds best friends, Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, and the catastrophic breach of trust that led to their deaths. This is a story.
No.
Do you remember these?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It's a story about their innocence and the tireless dedication of a community in the face of despair and the eventual pursuit of justice. But most importantly, it's a story about the girls themselves. So who were Holly and Jessica? To understand the magnitude of this loss, we must look past the headlines and the courtroom sketches. We must look into the lives of the two little girls that were at the centre of this tragedy. Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman were not just friends, they were nearly inseparable. At 10 years old, they were at the age where childhood was beginning to transition into more of the preteen years. Holly Wells was a vibrant, bubbly girl. Her family described her as someone that was full of life and loved her family deeply. She had a close relationship with her older brother, Oliver, and she was known for her kindness. Holly was the kind of child who was deeply rooted in her home life, and she loved being surrounded by her family. So whether they were having a quiet evening or hosting a barbecue, she was always there, happy, smiling and giggling. She was an avid reader and enjoyed the simple pleasures of school life. So it brings me to Jessica. So Jessica had an infectious, energetic spirit. She loved sports, she was active, athletic, and thrived when she was outdoors. Her friends and family spoke of her as someone with a bright, curious mind. And always ready for the next adventure. Together, they were the perfect match. They were classmates at St Andrew's Primary School in Soham. Their friendship was typical of 10-year-olds. They spent hours playing, planning activities, sharing secrets, and navigating their little world. They were both bright, happy, and well-adjusted children. And they had their whole lives ahead of them. And as was the case for many children in Britain, they were passionate football fans. Specifically, they were devoted Man U supporters. They wore their team's red shirts with pride. Which brings me to that fateful Sunday, the 4th of August, 2002. They were both dressed in their Man U shirts. They were just simply being children, playing at home, laughing, and enjoying the school holidays. They were not children that were wary of the world. They weren't like super streetwise and that. They just felt safe in their little town. They had no reason to believe that anything bad was going to happen to them. So the afternoon of the 4th of August 2002, it was a warm, lazy Sunday. It was the kind of day that you just want to go to the shop and buy some sweets. So that's what they did. So Holly and Jessica had spent the day together at Holly's house. And then at about 6:30 p.m, the girls asked to go out. It was a request that would have been granted thousands of times to many of the other children across Britain that day, wanting to go into the shop to buy a bag of sweets. The trip itself was only a few hundred yards walk. It wasn't very far at all, and it was completely routine. They'd been there before. They said goodbye to their families and stepped outside. They were seen for a fleeting moment by a neighbour as they were walking by casually, chatting and that. However, they'd never make it to the sweet shop. When the clock ticked past 7 p.m, then 8 p.m, all of a sudden the atmosphere in the Wells homes shifted from relaxed to frantic. The unspoken check-in time had passed, and by 9 p.m, the realisation that something bad had obviously happened to the girls. Eventually, they called the police, and the quiet town of Soham was about to be thrust into the centre of a national nightmare. So what followed for the next 13 days was one of the largest and most intensive police searches in British history. I remember the news reports about these. I don't know if you do. Do you remember?
Yeah, me too, yeah.
I remember I came home from school and my mum was in the living room and she was like looking at the telly. Like, you know, when they do that thing where they're standing up with their arms crossed looking at the telly like, oh God, when it's something bad.
It was in August though, you wouldn't have been at school.
Oh, I must have come in from somewhere then. Fuck knows. I probably was out buying my own sweets somewhere. I must have been at a friend's house or at my grandma's. I remember coming in and my mum was stood in front of the telly and she was doing that thing, you know, where they look at the telly and look at you and look really sad and then look at the telly again thinking, oh God.
Yeah.
So when a child goes missing, time is the enemy. Every minute that passes is a minute of uncertainty, terror and fading hope. The Cambridgeshire police mobilised rapidly, calling in reinforcements from across the region. But when they were met with like a baffling void, like nothing, no trace of them, there were no witnesses who had seen the girls being forced into a vehicle or anything like that. No reports of hearing or seeing a struggle anywhere. It was as if in the span of a few minutes, the girls had just simply vanished. The community of Soham were there to help. Hundreds of local volunteers donned high visibility vests, walking through cornfields, peering into people's like garden sheds, behind the bins, looking everywhere where the girls could be hiding. It was a scene of communal desperation. People who had never met the families were suddenly united by a singular crushing desire to bring Holly and Jessica home. The media coverage was unprecedented. The images of Holly and Jessica smiling in their red Manchester United t-shirts were broadcast on every single news channel in the country. They became the faces of a national trauma, and the public was pleading for information. In a property in the grounds of the school where Holly and Jessica were students was the home of the school's caretaker, Ian Huntley, and his girlfriend, Maxine Carr. So Maxine, she worked as a teaching assistant at the same school as Holly and Jessica. In the days immediately following the disappearance, Huntley actually appeared on telly. He was interviewed by the media. He seemed helpful, calm, describing the events of what he's heard on the news. He spoke about seeing the girls walk past his house before. He was just making himself out to be like the helpful, concerned neighbour. The world watched him, unaware that that was the very man that had caused the tragedy, that had stolen those girls from their families. He utilised the media coverage to embed himself as a witness, an act of manipulation that would later become a focal point of public outrage. As the search intensified, the investigation began to close in on the school grounds. There was a very grainy camera footage, but like camera footage back then was basically a photo, pause, another photo. It was like, foop, foop.
Yeah.
It was like 4 seconds in between each frame. Terrible it was.
Yeah.
And they were very, very grainy. On the 17th of August, 13 days after the girls went missing, the investigation took an horrific turn. Police discovered the bodies of Holly and Jessica in a ditch near a remote track at RAF Lakenheath, a few miles away from the village. The discovery sent a shockwave of grief through Soham and the entire nation. The forensic evidence was heartbreaking. The girls had been killed shortly after they disappeared. Their bodies had been moved, and the investigation kind of turned almost immediately towards Ian Huntley. I think the police were a bit like, this guy is just fucking weird. I think a few things he was saying were just not making sense. So forensic teams began to scour the school caretaker's house, and what they found dismantled his facade of the helpful neighbour. They found evidence that the girls had been in the house. They found the discarded red Manchester United shirts. They were partially burned in a bin, so super suspicious.
Oh, well, yeah, you're fucked. If you're burning people's clothes, you're not innocent.
Yeah. So that's like kind of caught red-handed with all the
evidence
there. The arrest of Ian Huntley and Maxine Carr followed shortly after this discovery. The arrest was not just a police procedure, it was all to kind of protect Ian, because people were absolutely outraged.
Yeah.
And I think in the village, lots of people were very suspicious of him. And I think they were a bit worried that they were just going to get basically lynched before the police could get to them. But obviously they needed him to also confess to. So the shot turned to outrage. The man who had been interviewed on television, the man who had pretended to look for the children, was now in custody. As the investigation delved deeper, the public learned the unsettling truth about Ian Huntley. He was a man with a history of predatory behaviour, yet he managed to secure a job in a school.
That's wild.
A position of trust. I think things have moved on a lot more since this.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I remember my dad going mental. No, he was like, why? And he was like, I remember him going off about it. He was like, well, why? How has he managed to get a job in a school when you've got a history of being a predator? I just don't get it.
They needed to do a background check or something.
I don't think they did. Yeah, I'll get to it later, but the families got the law changed to do more thorough background checks after this.
Jesus.
Yeah, he'd managed to secure a job at a school, which is a position of trust. The system had failed, and in the most brutal way imaginable. Maxine Carr, his partner, also faced a different set of charges because she provided him with a false alibi. She claimed that they were together, and she kept on it. She didn't just say it once, she insisted that they were together on the night that the murders happened. But then later, it was revealed that while Huntley was killing the girls, she wasn't actually with him, but she had subsequently helped him to try and cover up the crime. So she was still involved. She didn't just lie, she helped him cover this up.
Nice.
I know she's had, I'll get to her in a minute. She pisses me off so much. So it was a harrowing ordeal for the families, for Holly and Jessica. The courtroom was filled with the weight of the evidence that was presented. It was awful. There were photos and, it's just horrible for them to have to sit through.
What an absolute nightmare.
I know. Little angel babies too. So Huntley's defence team attempted to argue that the girls' deaths were accidental, a claim that Huntley stuck throughout the trial. The claim that Huntley had was that Jessica had suffered a nosebleed in the house, and as they went up to the bathroom to sort the nosebleed out, he accidentally knocked Holly in the bath. And then Huntley claimed that he had to put his hand over Jessica's mouth to stop her screaming because she was screaming that he'd pushed Holly into the bath. But he said it wasn't true, but she wouldn't stop screaming, so I had to hold her mouth shut. And he said that all of a sudden she stopped screaming, and he didn't realise how long had passed that she'd stopped screaming. He looked at her and that she'd died. And when he looked in the bath where Holly had fallen, he said that there was a bit of water in the bath and that she'd died and, drowned in the bath. Does that make sense?
I mean, yes, but it's stupid.
It's a lie. So that's why.
It's
stupid.
Absolutely ridiculous, and nobody would ever believe that.
So apparently after that happened, he panicked and said it looked really bad, so he disposed of the bodies. It was a narrative that the jury, the British public, everyone just flatly rejected.
Of course. It's fucking ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Absolutely stupid. And, he's just a piece of shit baby killer.
Yeah. I think he took them into the house to do something to them. I don't think he necessarily intended on killing them at first, but I think when they weren't as quiet as what he wanted them to be, and he realised they were going to tell their parents, they weren't just going to be like, oh, we're not going to tell anyone about this. He had to kill them there, and I think that's what happened. So the prosecutors, they painted a different picture. They painted a cold, calculated crime that Huntley had lured the girls into his home, killed them, and embarked on an elaborate, systematic effort to hide the evidence and protect himself. The testimony regarding the state of the bodies and the efforts to conceal them provided a grim reality that shattered the accident defence. The injuries on the bodies just didn't stick with what he said happened.
What, like falling in the bath and getting suffocated while you're having a nosebleed? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. The legal proceedings lasted for months. The testimonies were gruelling, and the sheer volume of forensic evidence left little room for doubt. On the 17th of September 2003, Ian Huntley was found guilty of the murders of Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, and was sentenced to 2 life terms with a recommendation that he serve a minimum of 40 years. Maxine Carr was found guilty of perverting the course of justice, and she was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, which was a cakewalk, really. She was super hated. Everybody hated her. She was a bit like another Myra Hindley.
It's shocking how little she got.
It is, because she still helped him dispose of a body of 2 children. And she worked in a school, and she would have had to have seen all of Holly and Jessica's friends crying because their friend, I don't know. And anyway, she ended up getting out of prison, and she's had plastic surgery.
So nobody knows what she looks
so no
like.
one can recognize. She's got a new identity, like a 2 million, I don't know if it's 1 million or 2 million it cost to give her a new identity. And she's probably living on I don't know, flipping heck. She is living a cushy life somewhere with her plastic surgery. She's probably married to someone and they don't even know who she is.
That is scary. Fucking hell.
It is scary. So that when the verdict was read, the reaction outside the courtroom was one of somber relief. There was no joy, only the quiet, heavy realization that the man responsible was behind bars. But for the families of Holly and Jessica, the end of the trial was not the end of the pain. It was merely the end of the legal process. The void left by the girls remained. The Soham murders left a mark on the United Kingdom. In the wake of the tragedy, questions were asked about how a man like Ian Huntley, with his history, was able to hold a position of such a responsibility at a school. You know, someone that has all the keys to the whole of the school. The inquiry that followed was led by Sir Michael Bishard, what resulted in the Bishard report. It led to a complete overhaul of the vetting background and check systems for anyone working with children. The Criminal Records Bureau system was reformed to ensure that information about potential risks was shared more effectively between police forces and educational institutions. So just kind of opening the information, making it a lot easier to access. The goal was simple and was to ensure that the circumstances that allowed Huntley to slip through the cracks would never happen again. But beyond the policy changes, there's a memory of the girls themselves. Holly and Jessica were not just headlines or case files, they were children. They were daughters, sisters, friends. Their families who had to endure the unimaginable glare of the media spotlight while grieving for their children. They maintained a dignity that was nothing short of extraordinary. They campaigned for changes in the law, they kept the memory of their daughters alive, and they found a way to navigate a world that had been irreversibly altered on the afternoon in August 2002. They reminded us that while evil exists, so does the immense power of love, resilience, and the desire to protect others from experiencing the same loss. we do have a slight bit of good news. This year, Ian Huntley was attacked in prison. He was struck over the head multiple times. He's been attacked in prison quite a lot over the years, but this time it finished him off. He got struck over the head multiple times by another prisoner with an object described as a metal bar. The attack left Huntley with significant head injuries, from which he died on the 7th of March this year.
Good. So he died in pain.
Yeah, he died.
He's dead.
He died. He did. Blunt force trauma to the head. So thank you to the person that did that.
Yeah.
I hope it hurt.
I just don't understand why there isn't the death penalty for things like that.
When it's blatantly obvious that he is guilty and it's children, just string them up.
So, yeah, thank you for listening to my story this week. It was a very heavy one, but it's important to tell and to honour the memories of those that we've lost and to ensure that we remain vigilant in protecting the most vulnerable among us.
Oh, it's just awful. Did he ever say why?
I couldn't really get much information.
I think he stuck to his story, didn't he?
He stuck to his story for a long time. I think he very vaguely sometimes said was like, he just blamed everyone else. It was like, she was screaming. The 10-year-old was screaming.
What were they doing
so
in
I
his
had to
house?
stop.
They shouldn't have
I think he lured them into that. I don't know. He lured them into the house. They would have seen them at school.
They would have known him.
They would have known him from school.
My kids know the caretaker. Like, he's well known in the village. Everyone knows him. Like, it's when you live in little villages like that is just how it is. Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, but he obviously had intent to do something very bad to them.
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly. But the girls wouldn't have known that.
I reckon he would have seen the girls, maybe not always together, but he would have definitely seen. He knows that kids go walk by his house to go to the shop, to the corner shop. And he's like the friendly caretaker. And he's like, yeah, he's just in a position that the girls know him and like, oh, he works for the school, so he must
they
be
feel
nice.
safe, yeah.
And all he needs to be is like super nice to them at school as well, like the cheeky caretaker, I don't know.
Did you say he was a predator? A sexual predator?
Yeah, he'd, again, I didn't go into it too much, but he had like a history of preying on children.
Fuck's sake. Fucking hell. You just think, if somebody had just checked, if you had just checked, that's, oh, God, it makes me sick to my stomach. Those poor families, God bless them. Well, thanks, Bex.
Yeah, thank you, Becky.
I know it's not very nice. I don't like it when it's kids, but I just think they deserve to have their little story.
No, they
I think he was like, he was kind of the school weirdo when he was younger. I think he raped someone when he was a teenager, and that's where he got his record from. I need to find it.
One less parasite on Earth, anyway.
How he managed to get a job at a school. I don't know if it was the school's fault or whether the school didn't have access to the information that they needed to have, or whether it was a mix of everything.
Well, I just don't think you had to have it then.
I think they did. You weren't allowed to have like a record, but I think it's at their discretion to.
The point is now is that you get a DBS check, and so you can't not disclose it. Like, they will find out. So my kid's school, even to go in and be like a parent reader, you have to have a DBS check now.
Well, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want something a bit more gruesome?
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's spine-chilling in its gruesomeness, but nothing to do with the paranormal.
That's fine, we'll take that.
So close your eyes and imagine it's 1348.
Oh, everything smells of shit.
Everything's covered in shit. You're covered in shit. The street's covered in shit.
My teeth are yellow. Do I have syphilis? Do I not? We don't know yet. Only time will tell.
You have a fever. Your skin feels like it's crawling, and there's a lump in your armpit the size of a lemon that's turning a nasty shade of purple.
Oh, dear.
That's not okay.
You call for the doctor.
And the doctor said...
No more monkeys jumping on the bed.
What a tune.
But instead of a white coat and a stethoscope, a man walks in wearing a leather bird mask with glass eyes, carrying a bucket of literal human waste to smear on your sores.
See, I told you everything smells of shit.
Welcome to the Middle Ages, baby.
Welcome to the Middle Ages.
Where the cure was usually more terrifying than the disease itself. Tonight, we're peeling back the bandages on the goriest era in medical history. Trust me, you'll want to put your lunch down for this one.
Good job, I've eaten.
So let's start with the big one. The celebrity of sickness, the Black Death.
Oh, yeah.
Ba, ba, ba. The plague is so interesting. I love it so much.
I've never heard anybody say, I love the plague. Now, we've all seen the images of the plague doctors with those long, terrifying bird beaks, which they stuffed with dry flowers and spices because they thought stopping the bad smell of the dying would protect them from catching it. So, obviously, it didn't.
No, everything was bad air, wasn't it? Bad air.
It's all bad air.
Too much,
thick
too
blood.
many demons in your blood.
Yeah. In reality, the plague was a biological horror movie. It started with a bubo. So a bubo or a bubo, I think it might be bubo.
It's bubo, I think.
Bubo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So-
bubo.
Imagine, it kind of sounds cute, doesn't it? Oh, a little bubo.
It does. It sounds like a little
So-
stuffed animal, doesn't it?
Oh, like a cute dog name.
Bubo.
Yes, it's my dog Bubo. Imagine a lymph node in your groin or your armpit swelling up until it's the size of an orange. It's hard, it's throbbing, and it's turning a sickly, bruised black.
Nice.
And this is where the medicine comes in. If you were lucky enough to afford a doctor in the 1300s, he wouldn't give you an antibiotic because they didn't exist yet. He'd look at that agonising, pulsating lump and decide it needed to vent. They would take a blade, usually a jagged little thing that hadn't been cleaned since the last patient's gangrene, and slice that bubo wide open. I'm talking
Nice.
a deep, brutal X right in the centre of the swelling. Out would pour a mixture of black blood and yellow-green pus that smelled vile, as you can well imagine.
Oh, like a medieval burrata.
But they didn't stop there.
Tash's face. She's like, fucking hate it. It's horrible.
Do you think I've got the plague right now?
Have you got a bubo?
No, my groin's all right.
Oh,
Okay, I think you're all right then. But they didn't stop there. To draw out the poison, they'd apply a treatment known as the Vickery method. And I kid you not, this was the height of medical science at the time. The doctor would take a live pigeon or a young chicken
Pigeon?
and pluck the feathers off the bird's bottom. They would then take this live, squawking bird and press its naked rump directly onto your open.
That's so weird. In what world did they think that would do
but
it?
birds are so disgusting and full of everything. And pigeons are the worst. Pigeons are the chavs of the sky. They are awful, and I do not like
Chavs
them.
of the sky.
Oh, poor pigeons.
Oh, no.
I feel sorry. I'm sorry.
Pigeons
Now I feel
are
like I've
alright.
gone too hard on pigeons. I do apologise, pigeons. I feel sorry
No.
for you now.
Pigeons used to be our pets and we abandoned
I
them.
know,
and
that's
treated
where they
them
are,
like
waiting
vermin.
for us to throw bread at them. I know, we abandoned pigeons. We're horrible.
We are horrible because they don't even know how to build a nest or anything.
They are
Little-
so pathetic, aren't they?
They're just shit.
I'm sorry, pigeon videos literally make me laugh so much. They'll put one stick and then lay an egg and be like, yeah, that'll do.
They'll be like, yeah, that's warm.
That'll do.
They can't smile, but in the pictures where you see them with that little egg and the little stick, they're just basically like, both eyes go in different directions. Oh, right.
Anyway, back in medieval times, they were used to...
As plasters.
Their arseholes were basically used to suck out oozing plague sores.
Oh, they were sucking. The bum was sucking. Oh,
Well, that's what they thought would happen. The arsehole was placed on
The
the sore.
arsehole. For God's sake.
they couldn't have got a sink plunger and stuck that on there and just like, oh no, I tell you what sucks.
I actually don't know if I want to listen to this.
So the idea was that the bird would breathe through its bum and suck the plague out of your body.
So they learned nothing about anatomy in the 1300s.
Right.
Imagine lying there, dying of one of the most feared diseases in history with the bare bird's bottom taped to your groin.
Yeah, where they've just
mate.
cut a big, large, deep hole into it.
What are they doing with its beak? Is it like taped up?
Well, I don't know. And if the bird died, that was good news. It meant it was full of your plague. So they just toss the dead bird aside and grab another live one to start the process over again.
Nice.
Yeah, fair.
And for the overachievers, they had pigeon slippers. So if you had a fever that was cooking your brain, they would slice a pigeon in half while it was still warm and strap the two halves to the soles of your feet.
Why are you telling us this?
The whole...
I'm sorry, this is not funny.
I wasn't on board with the whole cut an onion in half and put it in your sock. Talk about a pigeon.
No, but I can get on board with that. But a fucking pigeon?
What? I think it's bad time to be a pigeon, isn't it? What would you rather? Would you rather be a pigeon with your ass on someone's groin? Groin boobo? Or would you rather just end it and, like, be a slipper?
Oh, I think it wouldn't be a slipper. At least you're dead.
I don't know. I think I'd give the boobo groin a go in case I survive.
You slag.
I don't know.
And then you'll be that pigeon. You'll be known as that pigeon that's had your ass.
You'll be shunned by all the other pigeons to be like, look at her with her ass a show.
Yeah, there.
Sucky ass.
Naked ass again. Deirdre's been at it again, getting her ass out, sucking people's pustules.
Why did your pigeon start scouse and then it just became an old lady? I just was like,
I don't know.
oh, so funny.
She got cross. She forgot who she was.
Was there any more pigeon-themed antidotes?
To be honest, I wrote this script so long ago I can't remember, so I'm discovering it with you. They genuinely believed the bird's cooling flesh would draw the heat down from your head.
Okay.
So I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a great... Well, it sounds like a great way to get an infection, right? A massive infection. And you're right. If the plague didn't kill you, being covered in bird guts and human excrement almost certainly would. There was no dignity in medieval death, just a lot of blood, a lot of birds, and a doctor who thought a chicken's anus was the pinnacle of modern medicine.
Can you imagine the first person was like, I don't know, that's like, oh, well, let's try a pigeon ass. And then all their friends were like, yes, the pigeon ass is the answer. That is amazing. Obviously, why didn't we think of this before? I wonder in 100 years, the amount of things that we do now that people are like, they were doing chemo instead of, doing something else. So it's so easy, so obvious now that we know about it. But yeah, pigeon ass though. Right, I'll shut up now.
We've come a long way.
Yeah, we have.
We've come a long way. Now, if you thought the live birds were a bit much, hold on to your stomach, because the medieval medicine cabinet gets a whole lot darker. You see, back then, doctors subscribed to a theory called allopathy. Allopathy.
Yeah.
The idea that you had to fight a vile disease with something equally vile.
Oh, God.
So, for a plague bubo, the go-to prescription was a warm poultice. Poultice.
Oh, what's that?
The go-to prescription was a warm poultice made of human poo. So they would take fresh waste, mix it with a little honey or flour to give it a nice paste-like consistency, and smear it directly onto an open, weeping sore. Imagine having a jagged X sliced into your groin and then having the doctor pack that open wound with the contents of a chamber pot.
Nice.
Whose shit is it?
I just some random man.
I reckon it's not your own shit. I reckon it's a healthy person's shit.
Apparently. So they were basically like, I see your boobos, I see your open sore, and I raise you my shit covered in flour. and I'm going to rub that on you.
Yeah.
Right.
So the logic was that the stench and the
logic. Can you say that there was any? Can you say that there was any logic whatsoever? Sorry, go on, Emma. Sorry.
Well, they thought that the impurity of the waste would draw the evil vapours out of your blood.
Yeah.
In reality, you were essentially fast-tracking yourself to septic shock, obviously.
Yeah.
You weren't just fighting the Black Death anymore, you were fighting every single bacteria known to the medieval gut.
Nice.
Now, when we talk about the plague, we usually just think of one big scary disease, but in reality there were 3 different types of plague stalking the streets of medieval Europe. Each one was as awful as the next.
And the main culprit was the fucking doctor.
Yeah.
They just had a cold and inflamed lymph nodes. Their glands were up. They just needed some honey and lemon.
But how painful is it when your glands are up in your neck? Imagine a pulsating orange.
So each plague had their own twisted way of dismantling the human body and their own terrifyingly short time frames. So the first one was the bubonic plague. That was a 5-day countdown. This is the classic pluck chicken arse poo lotion version. The one that usually comes to mind. It starts with a flea bite, but within a day or two, your body becomes a literal battleground. The bacteria travels straight to your lymph nodes, usually in the groin, armpit or neck, and causes them to swell into buboes. If you had this version, you typically had about 3 to 7 days to live. By day 4, you'd be delirious with fever and vomiting black bile.
Nice.
And if those buboes didn't burst, or if the doctor didn't come along with a dirty knife to slice them open, the infection would just overflow into your body and shut your organs down one by one. About 80% of people who caught this never saw day 8. Now, if the buboes did burst on their own, potentially your chance of survival was slightly improved, unless somebody came along and stuck a chicken's arse on you, then probably not. But if they just burst on their own and it was left alone, your chance of survival was slightly improved, as the infection would hopefully all drain outward. But if the doctor popped it for you with his dirty knife that he'd used on the last 10 plague patients, then filled the wounds with poo and chicken arse, then you were most definitely going to die.
So it's better to be poor and not be able to afford a doctor?
It would have been. It would have been better just to leave them to burst on your own. You had more chance of survival. Then we've got the pneumonic plague, called the breath of death.
Oh, nice.
If you thought the buboes were bad, the pneumonic version is where things get truly terrible. This one didn't need a flea, it was airborne. If an infected person coughed near you, you were marked. Instead of attacking your lymph nodes, the bacteria goes straight for the lungs. It essentially turns your lungs into liquid. You start with a cough, but within hours you're hacking up bright red frothy foam. And it's not just blood, it's actually bits of your own lungs that have dissolved.
Nice.
Yeah. The timeline on this one was brutal. 2 to 3 days. It was almost 100% fatal.
I'm going to say that one's super dangerous still now. That is really bad.
Yeah. Does it still exist now?
I think it's more the flea one, the boo-boos one that we see now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you started coughing that red foam on a Monday morning, you'd be dead by Wednesday night. You were literally drowning in your own liquefied insides whilst laying in bed.
How terrifying.
This one, the septicemic plague, was also called the 24-hour blitz. So this was the last one. We have the rarest and most terrifying version of them all here. This is the one that skips the lumps and the coughing and goes straight for your bloodstream. This is where the name the Black Death really hits home, because the infection is in your blood. It causes your blood to start clotting inside your veins while you're still alive. It cuts off the circulation to your extremities, meaning your fingers, your toes, your nose literally just turn jet black and die while they're still attached to you.
That's gross.
Your skin develops massive black and blue splotches, and you bleed out under your own skin. This was the invisible killer. The time frame, 24 hours or less.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. There are stories of people sitting down for a dinner feeling a bit tired and being found dead and blackened in their chairs the next morning. It was a biological nightmare. No warning, no lumps, just a one-day countdown to a very dark grave. So now moving on from the plague, we're going to go on to the second one of our delightful medieval illnesses.
What, that isn't the end?
No. Do you want me to stop?
No, it's really nice. I'm really enjoying it whilst I feel like I'm dying.
Okay, good.
I'm enjoying it, but without the sarcasm.
So the second medieval illness was called St. Anthony's fire, otherwise known as ergotism.
Right.
So imagine sitting in a tavern, reaching for a piece of bread, and notice your pinky finger looks a bit dark. And a week later, that finger is black, shriveled, and hard as a rock. You go to scratch an itch, and the finger just clicks off your hand.
Nice.
No blood, no feeling, just a piece of yourself lying on the floor.
It's a bit like my toenail.
Well, yeah, it's not quite the same, but almost. That wasn't a horror movie. That was Tuesday in the Middle Ages, if your baker used the wrong flour. Ergotism wasn't caught from a flea or a cough. It was hidden in their daily bread. And the symptoms, becoming a walking, living corpse.
Nice.
So it's a damp, cold winter in the 10th century. You're sitting down to a meal of dark rye bread, the staple of every peasant's diet.
I really like rye bread.
Well, there you go. So did they.
Yeah.
But what you don't know is that rye has been infected by a fungus called, now this is fun, Claviceps purpurea.
Claviceps poo-poo.
Purpurea. Claviceps purpurea. It looks like small dark grains, but it's actually a natural source of LSD and a powerful vasoconstrictor. So that's something that constricts your blood flow.
Hence the fally-offy fingers.
Exactamundo. So you're not just eating dinner, you're eating a one-way ticket to a hallucinogenic nightmare. The first thing you'd feel is a localised, intense burning sensation in your hands or feet. That's why it's called Anthony's fire. It felt like you were being pressed against a red-hot iron. But when you looked down, there were no blisters, no fire, just your own skin. Because the fungus constricts your blood vessels to the point of total closure, your limbs are literally being starved of oxygen. This led to something called dry gangrene. So your fingers and toes wouldn't rot and get
I'd much
mushy.
prefer wet gangrene.
Would you?
I don't know. Dry gangrene looks a little bit less painful to me. I think wet gangrene looks a bit nasty.
So with dry gangrene, your fingers and toes wouldn't get mushy and rot like a normal infection. They would just kind of shrivel up, turn jet black and become hard and brittle like a piece of charcoal.
Is that like that girl's nail, that finger had died? Do you remember that? There was a girl on Instagram, like, I don't know, a few years ago, and she damaged the tip of her finger and it just like was drying up and then died and it just came off one day. She was like
Gross.
documenting it. I was so interested.
That's disgusting.
I was really invested in it.
Because the blood flow was completely cut off, the nerves in the limb would die first, so you'd lose all sensation, so it wasn't painful.
Yeah, I'm going to say, out of that and screaming in pain, I'd rather that. If I must choose.
Yeah.
No, obviously I'd rather that. I don't want smelly, mushy fingers.
There are historical accounts of people walking down the street and having a blackened toe or even entire foot to just simply snap off. No blood, no pain, just a dry, charcoal-like limb falling onto the cobblestones like a dead branch from a tree. People believed their limbs were being consumed by holy fire as punishment for their sins.
Of course.
Naturally, the medieval medical experts had a plan. Since they thought this was a spiritual curse, the only cure was to go on a pilgrimage to the shrine of St. Anthony. So while you were travelling to the shrine, the monks would treat your blackened, shriveled stumps with holy water and more of the beloved poo paste that was used for the plague. They'd smear animal fats and herb-infused waste on the blackened skin, hoping to cool the invisible fire.
I'm not liking the amount of times that you've said smear.
The real miracle, when the peasants got to the monastery, the monks gave them wheat bread instead of their usual rye bread. So the poisoning stopped, the hallucinations faded, and they thought they were cured by God, even though they were now missing half their limbs. Thousands of these survivors flocked to the Order of St. Anthony. The monks would collect the fallen limbs and hang them up in the churches as offerings. So imagine walking into a church and seeing a wall covered in shriveled black human feet.
Nice.
If you weren't one of the lucky ones who just lost a few limbs, death came in two horrific ways. The wet rot, which is gangrene.
Oh, that's fine. The word wet.
Yeah, the wet rot.
Wet rot.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Like wet wood, dry wood.
If the line between the dead and the living flesh got infected, which, let's face it, happened constantly with all the sewer lotion being smeared around, the dry gangrene turned into wet gangrene. This is where the limb doesn't just shrivel, it liquefies. It turns into a foul-smelling, greenish-black soup. The infection enters the bloodstream. You okay, Tash?
Not really.
Tash is loving it.
So the infection enters the bloodstream, which causes sepsis, and you die of a massive, agonising fever within days. The other way to die from this was the convulsive path, which was called the dancing death. This is something we covered before. Do you remember the dancing plague?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they did say that ergotism was a possible reason for this to happen.
They did, yeah.
So sometimes the poison didn't attack the limbs, it attacked the brain. This was a convulsive version of the disease. Because the fungus contained the chemicals used to make LSD, survivors suffered from horrific hallucinations, painful muscle spasms, and seizures. Your body would contort so violently that your muscles could tear or your spine could snap. You'd be writhing in agony, screaming about invisible fires and demons until your heart simply gave out from the exhaustion or your lungs stopped working during a seizure. So could you survive? Technically, yes, but survival meant waking up one morning, watching your blackened foot snap off onto the floor like a dry twig, and then hobbling your way to a monastery to live out your days as a living mummy. You were the lucky one. The unlucky ones, they didn't just lose a leg, they lost their minds. They would fall into a wild, bone-snapping seizure where they'd scream that invisible demons were setting their skin on fire. They'd twitch and writhe until their hearts literally burst from the stress. In the Middle Ages, sometimes the charcoal limb was the mercy option. Now, to finish off, how would you like a serving of leprosy?
It's often what I think about.
I mean...
Yeah?
Yeah,
You're
why
wrong.
not?
Yeah, I'm ready for some I'm not ready for leprosy in real life, but I'm ready for you to tell me about it.
Okay, so if the Black Death was a sprint to the grave, leprosy was a marathon. It was a
Slow, baby.
agonising crawl where your body dismantled itself piece by piece over decades. But the most terrifying part wasn't the biology, it was the social execution. In the Middle Ages, if a priest decided you had leprosy, they didn't send you to a hospital, they held a leper's mass. Now, this is some of the darkest ritualistic horror in history. You would be marched into a church, but instead of a pew, you would be made to stand in a freshly dug grave or sit under a black funeral shroud, the same cloth they used to cover coffins. The priest would chant the burial rites over your head while you were still standing there, breathing and blinking. Then came the symbolic kill. The priest would take a shovel, scoop up some dirt, and scatter it over your feet 3 times. He would say, "I die thee to the world." From that second on, you were legally dead.
Oh.
You couldn't own
God.
a house, you couldn't touch money, and your spouse was technically a widow. You were a ghost in a living body. Now, let's get into why they were so scared of you. Leprosy attacks the nerves, which sounds boring until you realise what that actually means for a human face. The skin on your forehead and your cheeks would thicken and sag into deep, permanent folds, giving you a terrifying, lion-like appearance. Your eyebrows would fall out, and your nose would often collapse into a flat, dark hole into the middle of your face.
Oh.
So once you were dead, like, not really dead, but on paper
Legally.
dead and deformed, you were then banished from the city. But because you were a walking corpse, the church forced you to wear a specific ghost uniform, a long, grey, hooded robe that hid your melting face.
This is absolutely fucking insane.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I just don't understand how they... Why were they all so complicit and just like, yeah, fine, cool. Good. Actually, do you know what? Good shout.
Yeah, but if you think about it, think about the witch trials. They were burning people alive that weren't bad people. And everybody was like, burn the witch, burn the witch. And I think just look about how many times in human history we have been complicit to absolute horrific things. And it was just normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were made to wear this ghost uniform, a long grey hooded robe that hid your melting face. You were forced to carry a bell or a wooden clapper. So every time you walked down a path, you had to ring the bell or go clack, 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 clack to warn the living to get out your way. You weren't allowed to speak to people. You weren't allowed to stand downwind of them. And if you wanted to buy food, you had to point at it with a long wooden stick because your undead hands were considered a curse. Now, you might think a disease that makes your face sag like a melting candle would kill you fast, but that's the real horror of leprosy. You didn't just die, you eroded. Because a disease kills your nerves, which sounds like a mercy until you realise that pain is the only thing that tells you to stop what you're doing. Imagine walking miles on a broken ankle you didn't know was snapped. Or a rat nibbling on your toes in your sleep and not waking up because you couldn't feel the teeth sinking into your toes. This led to horrendous secondary infections. Your extremities would develop deep, foul-smelling ulcers that went straight to the bone. Eventually, the filth of the leper colonies would lead to septicemia, blood poisoning. Your blood would turn toxic from the open, untreated holes in your flesh. And if that didn't get you, the bacteria would eventually eat away at your upper respiratory tract until your throat scarred over, making every breath a wet, rattling struggle. You'd essentially choke on your own disintegrating face. It wasn't a quick exit. It was decades-long process of watching yourself turn into a skeleton while you were still using your bones, which is horrifying.
Horrible. Especially when you know, especially if sometimes they kind of all live together and they could see it happening. So when they all kind of know what's going to happen. They just know that they're dying and there's nothing they can do about it.
Awful.
Horrible.
Awful. So there you have it. A world where doctors' first instincts was to tape a naked bird's butt to your groin, where your bread could turn your legs into charcoal, and where a priest could bury you in dirt while you were still standing up. We like to think we're so evolved, but remember, the first antibiotic wasn't mass-produced until the 1940s. That's not ancient history. That's your grandparents' lifetime. For 99% of human existence, we were just one flea bite away or one mouldy sandwich away from a living funeral. So next time you're at the chemist picking up a simple pack of penicillin, take a look at the box. It's not just medicine. It's the only thing keeping us from bells, clappers, and poo paste.
Poo paste.
And there you go.
Oh, that's good.
I can't even say thank you.
Oh, I'm going to say thank you.
Did you not enjoy that?
Well, I'm just worried that I have all of those things right now.
I don't think any of those things really exist.
Okay.
I mean, actually, they probably still do exist, but they're all treatable now, right?
Oh, I don't know.
The plague is treatable. Leprosy is treatable.
Treatable?
What was the other one? Ergotism. I'm pretty sure ergotism would be treatable.
I had a look. Pneumonic plague is endemic to like Madagascar, Congo, and Uganda. So
I haven't been to any of those places in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Peru. There have been a few cases in the US. And did you know leprosy? There was a island in Hawaii called Molokai or Malachi or something like that, where they sent
I've heard about this.
all the people with leprosy. There was
That's
like
true.
8,000 of
That's a
them.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it still exists, but they sent them all over to this island basically to die.
Well, that's what they used to do, wasn't it? Leper
colonies, but it was like a leper island. And mental.
Yeah.
But then again, there's me going, oh, stupid. They didn't know any better back then. They thought they were like, fucking, let's try it. Let's mix this together. Right, pigeon ass. Right, poo mixed with flour.
They didn't even know what germs were.
No, well, they thought everything was bad air, miasma and all that stuff. Bad air and scary blood. Too much blood in your blood.
I'm pretty sure, bird arse isn't the worst thing that they did. I'm sure there's loads of unpleasant things.
I think that's still pretty bad.
Anyway, shall we leave it at that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go die in my bed.
Don't forget, if you hear a pigeon tomorrow morning, be like,
I need a pigeon!
Go rub its ass on your face.
Pigeon slippers.
Someone get me a pigeon!
Go get outside, get a pigeon and stick it to your tonsil.
Deep throat a pigeon.
Oh, I'm going. Thanks, Kat. Stay safe.
Love you lots. And what do I say? Don't kill people or stick any asses on your face.
And keep it very, very weird. Bye.
But not as weird as that. Bye. Pigeon slippers.
Spine chillers and serial killers, where the chills meet the laughter spillers.